up, everyone? It's your boy Floz and G. Welcome back to another episode of Tier Up. And this time, we are going to be ranking because someone would not stop suggesting it. And I thought, screw it. But we're only going to be going with the ones that I grew up with and I enjoy. Sesame Street characters. Again, the ones I grew up with and I enjoy. Anything post-2010, probably not going to be included. But either way, let's just get right into it. The rankings for this video are as follows. God tier, brought to you by the letter A, could be a Muppet, Rocco, and cancelled. I will say, I was very tempted at putting Rocco as the cancelled tier. Like, just having the cancelled tier named Rocco. But you know what? There are things that are worse than Rocco. Who am I kidding? There's nothing worse than Rocco. First up, we have a character named Baby Bear. Any relation to Fozzie? I've got absolutely no clue. I will say, out of all the characters I know, Baby Bear was the least memorable. Plus, with actually a good number of these characters, I feel like I had to look them up to remember that they were even characters. Baby Bear included. I will say I did remember him over some of these other ones, so I'm not going to put him in cancelled. I will put him down in Rocco. Ew, Rocco. Next up, we have the first half of the dynamic duo, Bert of Bert and Ernie. Now, I will say for the longest time, there were some things about these duos that I never, noticed until recently. But Bert, tall, yellow, lanky, unibrow, can be kind of a Debbie Downer, has a, oh, wait a minute. There were some things about him I remember. I don't know if it included socks or pigeons or what, but something about that for some reason is ringing a bell. I will say Bert was by no means one of my favorites, but I did remember him before Baby Bear, so that's got to give him some points. I'm thinking I'll put him in Could Be a Muppet, at least above Baby Bear. He is far too good to be in the tier of Rocco. But speaking of tall, yellow, and lanky, now we have Big Bird, who's literally a big bird. And there were literally, I think there were a couple of Sesame Street movies. Big Bird did have his own movie, but, what was it called? It was like, Have You Seen That Bird or something? Have You Seen This Bird? Something like that. And basically, what had happened was, I guess Big Bird gets adopted by this dodo family, but realizes he loves his family back on Sesame Street, so he leaves. And then there was a social worker lady called Miss Finch who keeps trying to get him to go back to the dodos, but he keeps escaping. But then he gets captured by a pair of people who try to make him into an act of a very sad bird. But eventually makes his way back home to Sesame Street, and that's the entire movie. I'm gonna be honest, I stopped listening to myself about a quarter of the way through that explanation. But hey, Big Bird's still cool. He is so cool that he deserves to be all the way up in God tier. Forget that little lag. Next up, we probably have the character that I related to the most, Cookie Monster. Why do I relate to him the most? Because me love cookie. Rah, 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 rah. And that's how I eat pussy. What the fuck is wrong with me? That's a whole ass rabbit hole that I'm not even gonna dive into right now. But Cookie Monster. Cookie Monster, one of my favorite characters, because you love cookie. Cookies are awesome. Plus, when you think of Sesame Street, Cookie Monster is one of the ones that immediately comes to your mind. Question is he on the same wavelength as Big Bird, though? I'm gonna say he... Well, absolutely 100% is. A God tier boy! How could you not put someone who likes cookies in God tier? Next up, we have the Count. 1 Sesame Street character. 2 Sesame Street characters. 3 Sesame Street characters. After a while, that does get annoying. Plus, that's really his only gimmick. I do have to give them points on cleverness and or wit. Reason being is because Count Vampire, Count Dracula, the Count counting numbers, That's something that I could never come up with on my own. I could never come up with something that clever on my own. Plus, for like the sheer amount of uniqueness, he's not bad enough to be in Rocco, but he's not good enough to be in God tier. He's in either brought to you by the letter A or could be a Muppet. But the question is, could he be a Muppet? Bert could easily be a Muppet, but could the Count? I'd say 100% the Count was made for Sesame Street. So I think we're going to go ahead and put him up and brought to you by the letter A. Okay, we had an extreme amount of lag right there. I don't know what that was about. But next up, we have the face of Sesame Street. The one and only Elmo! This is someone that absolutely everyone can relate to.
Especially with how much he hates Rocco.
It's been a while. My Elmo impression has become rather subpar. I mean, there's probably a few Elmo phrases I could do.
Elmo doesn't want to play with Zoe anymore. This playtime is over. Where are you going? Alaska. It's faster if you drive.
How can Elmo not be your favorite character? Plus, he has risen so far in the ranks of Sesame Street. He started out as just an unnamed monster who would appear every now and then, to becoming essentially the face of Sesame Street.
But what does Rocco think? Elmo can't believe he just said that.
I love Elmo, especially for our shared hatred of Rocco. Even without the shared hatred of Rocco, Elmo deserves to go in God tier, my guy. Elmo's God tier. What's with the freaking lag? Next up, we have the second half of the duo. We have Ernie of Bert and Ernie. And like we can see in this picture, Ernie has a fondness of rubber duckies. So much so that he literally has a whole song dedicated about it. Rubber ducky, you're the one. You make bath time oh so fun. Rubber ducky, I don't know how I even remember that much of the song. And before you ask, no, I will not be doing Sesame Street song covers. Not happening. I'm surprised the Wiggles covers took off as much as they did. Where am I going? Should I put him in Could Be a Muppet to complete the duo? Or should I put him up higher and brought to you by the letter A? Because he's definitely not bad enough to be considered Rocco. Ernie, I don't really feel much of anything special from Ernie, aside from just the rubber ducky. I think I'm going to put him on par with Bert and Could Be a Muppet. I think that's where I'm going to put him. I mean, that seems fair to me. Next up, we have, for the longest time, who was one of my favorites, we have Grover. Grover is a blue character who enjoys a lot of, like, sort of stunts or whatever. There's one character in the show that he always seems to annoy. I could not remember his name to save my life. Plus, Grover has a superhero alter ego called Super Grover. Because I'm going to be honest, in my opinion, he seems sort of like either on par or a slightly dulled version of Gonzo. The question is what I think about him. If he's good enough to be considered a Muppet, or if he's better to be and brought to you by the letter A. I think he definitely gives off more Sesame Street energy than he does a regular Muppet. So I think I'm going to go ahead and put him in brought to you by the letter A.
This tier list has been brought to you by the letter A.
Again, you can see how long it's been since I've even seen Sesame Street, because that was supposed to be a Grover impression. Next up, we have the face of the Muppets. We have Kermit the Frog. And the reason I'm putting him in this list is because Kermit has been in many a Sesame Street episodes, even the very original Sesame Street episodes. Like, he's not what I think of when it comes to Sesame Street. But he is also the face of the Muppets, which started Sesame Street, so, I think at least he would be and Could Be a Muppet. The question is, could he be in brought to you by the letter A? I'm not feeling brought to you by the letter A. I am feeling the very beginning of Could Be a Muppet. Just the very beginning of it. But next up, we have the one who lives in the trash can, Oscar the Grouch. I love trash. Anything dirty, I don't know the other words. But yeah, Oscar is known as a Grouch who originates from Grouchland and lives in this trash can. And the reason I'm bringing up Grouchland is because that's what I meant to say. What else about Elmo? Elmo is also one of the ones who had his own goddamn Sesame Street movie. It was like Elmo's Adventure in Grouchland or something to that effect. Because Elmo's blanket gets stolen by Oscar. Well, I say stolen. Oscar puts it in his trash can, and then it gets traveled to Grouchland, where this guy named Hugsley, I believe, takes the blanket for his own, where he says he touches, he owns it because he's a really greedy bastard. So Elmo has to travel to Hugsley's lair and get the blanket back. All because Oscar's about to decide to steal the blanket. I'm wondering if Oscar could be a Muppet, or if he's good enough to be in Brought to You by the Letter A. Actually, no, I think I'm gonna go ahead and put him in Brought to You by the Letter A. I feel like that could be a fair placement for him. Next up, we have a character named Rosita. Rosita, obviously given the name, she's Latina. She was actually, like Baby Bear, one of the ones that I had to look up because I could not remember her. Like, I don't even really know what her gimmick is other than just being Latina. Plus, I really didn't even remember her that much. I actually think I remembered her a bit less than I did Baby Bear, but actually, you know what? She left little to zero impression on me. I think that has to put her in canceled. Does it look bad that I'm putting the only Latina character in canceled? Yes, it does. I'm also not one to care. But next up, we have the big hairy dude, Snuffleupagus. Snuffleupagus is to Big Bird what Bert is to Ernie. A good friend. The completion of the duo. Can't have one without the other. But Snuffleupagus, I will say, when I think of Sesame Street, I don't immediately go to him. But I do at the same time think he is better than... He is too good to be in Rocco. Seriously, way too good to be in Rocco. So you know what? We're going to go ahead and put Snuffleupagus up in... Could be a Muppet. Way too good to be in Rocco. We're coming to the last couple. First up, we have a purple monster named Telly. I don't know if that's short for something, but he was always just referred to as Telly. He was also one of the ones like Baby Bear that I had to look up because I couldn't really remember him. But after I did, he still didn't even really leave that much of an impression on me aside from just like being there. I can't put him in Could Be a Muppet, but I don't know if he deserves to be in canceled either. He's either going in canceled or Rocco. No, I think I'm actually going to put him in Rocco. Because, I don't know why, I'm just feeling to put him in Rocco. I know I'm saying that so much because I just hate Rocco. I hate him. And speaking of hating Rocco, lastly, we have Zoe, the creator of Rocco. You evil wench. You created the most hated character known to man. It made us all love Elmo even more. I am so tempted to just put Zoe in canceled just for her creation of Rocco. But should I put her in Rocco for her creation of Rocco? No, I'm going to put her in canceled. Because you are worse than the creation you made. Well, maybe that's not true. But for being the one who created Rocco, you need to suffer. But I think this right here is where we're going to end it. I've been Floz MG. This has been ranking Sesame Street characters, and I can't wait to see you all in the next video.